To this now, comic books might seem like a thing of the past in a time of social media, but Gushwell Brooks from the Human Rights Commission still uses them to highlight social matters. His comics are called The Adventures of Ntate Molefe, and the latest issue focuses on the rights of the LGBTQIA+ community. He now joins me for a conversation about The Adventures of Ntate Molefe. Gushwell, this is impressive, but why the medium of a comic strip? Why is this the right medium for you to raise issues around issues to do with homophobia and a lack of tolerance and understanding in our society?
Good morning to listeners and to all the people watching. Well, you know, I think my first love has always been comics, and I just thought that this is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to showcase you know, a message of social justice. I think I just need to point out the fact that through my work at the Commission, of course, I come across civil society, and one of those organizations was the Other Foundation. So this was out of my own personal capacity. BB Comics is actually co-founded by my wife and I. And, you know, they put out a call for funding, you know, an opportunity for funding. I didn't even consider it at the time, but then I thought to myself, hang on a second, maybe I can take two passions of mine, social justice and comics on the other hand, combine the two, and that's how we have The Adventures of Ntate Molefe, the Rainbow Edition.
Yeah, talk to me about Ntate Molefe. Going through the pages of this latest, the Rainbow Edition, he comes through as, you know, a kind of a man who's wearing a blanket, Sanamarena kind of a blanket and a hat, and basically pounces at the right time, at the point at which homophobia manifests itself in various settings in our community. Tell me a bit more about this character.
Well, Ntate Molefe actually goes back a while ago. He first emerged publicly 6 years ago, when I was given the opportunity by the Daily Sun to actually do a comic strip. I was freelancing at the time, and I just took the opportunity to pitch the idea to the Daily Sun, and luckily they picked it up. It ran for a limited period, and then in 2017 they picked it up again and ran for 2 years in the Daily Sun. But more specifically, I've always wanted to write Ntate Molefe as a comic book, as opposed to just brief little bursts in newspapers. And so we've been lucky that we've been able to put out 3 titles thus far. You can see them here overhead. That's issue 2, that's issue 1. And then this is the Rainbow Edition, both in English as well as in Portuguese. So yeah, as I said, you know, comics have always been a passion, and I wanted to write a comic book that is set in South Africa, tells a realistic story of South Africans. Sure. As you know, he doesn't fly, he doesn't have superpowers. He's an ordinary man, probably past middle age, but he still does his thing. I
think that, Gushwell, from having read this particular edition, the story I take out, right, is that we have a constitution and a constitutional scheme that guarantees equality and basically prohibits, you know, discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and on gender, but that's only on paper. The lived reality that you then explore through such settings as family, the church, corporate South Africa is completely different.
Indeed, and that's what we wanted to showcase using the medium of comics to educate people about what people go through on a day-to-day basis, what same-sex couples go through, what are some of the challenges that they encounter, and I think you've listed them all within the family, the professional space, even in their living spaces. And, you know, rights don't mean anything. The Constitution and the rights that we have in the Constitution don't mean anything if we don't adopt these and actually live them and accept people for who they are, treat them as equals. And this year was an opportunity to showcase that and to provide that education without preaching, but rather through entertaining means.
Okay, lastly then, Gushwell, I'm just wondering about the appeal of it all. I mean, you are talking to a generation that's on social media, that have these conversations on social media, and the conversation is rapid. I'm of a particular age, of course, having grown up on the Bafanas in as far as Bona magazine was concerned in the 80s. There's also the whole issue of, I remember, I think there was 99 Jump Street. I think that was one of them that was there back in the 80s and early 90s. Is there still an audience, though? Do you think this will find appeal and resonate?
You know, Tulasizo, I think out of all media, if you look at comic books, you know, they've survived for a very, very long time. The golden age goes back to the 1940s. The silver age goes back to the 1960s. And there's been a resurgence. I think you will remember how everyone was scrambling to try to get their hands on a copy of a Black Panther copy once they discovered it through the movie. I think it will always resonate. And the simple reason why is because comics are simple and easy to read, no matter how old you are. No matter what your demographic. And I think it's just a case of people actually investing the time and the energy into looking into a wonderful media. And this is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, this particular comic book, the Rainbow edition of The Adventures of Ntate Molefe, is freely available. All people have to do is just contact the other foundation, #BBComicsZA. That's all that they have to look for on social media to find out more from the other foundation in terms of how they can get their hands on the copy. And I will be putting it on the website as well. So people can read it for free.
Great work, Gushwell. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
And as he says, look out for it. You can actually get it for free. Look out for the other foundation. It's written at the back here, the other foundation, and look out for BB Comics. And that's where you can arrange to get a copy. It's really well written and illustrated there. The work of Gushwell Brooks, his part-time work, moonlighting, when he's not busy speaking on behalf of the Human Rights Commission.